I played in a couple bands in town, and Andy's name was always brought up. He's a guy that could get gigs for people. He seemed to be just a name that always popped up in certain conversations.
Good and bad.
Yeah.
No, it was all.
You beat me to that one.
It was all good. It was all good. I'm not going to tell you the bad. No, it was all good. But so somehow we ended up kind of communicating on Facebook. I'm not really sure how that started.
Well, I came out to see you with one of the bands you were in, and I actually came out to see the other guys in the band, and I noticed you, and I stalked you on Facebook, of course.
So what band was that?
What?
What band was that?
I don't know the name of the band. No.
Split several.
But it wasn't that long ago. Less than a couple years.
Yeah,
3 years maybe.
So anyway, Andy was advertising. He was doing this Tom Petty and Friends gig at the Everett Theatre, and like he does, he posts all the time on Facebook what he's up to and doing. And I was starting to get jealous. Like, I want to be part of this, man. You know, this sounds like a lot of fun, but I don't know any of these people that are going to do it. And at the same time, Andy was looking for a guitar player for his Mellencamp band. So he was kind of, feeling me out for that. And at some point in the conversation, he just invited me to go down and do the Everett gig with him, sing backup on one of the tunes, My Back Pages or something.
Yeah.
How many people did we have on stage there that night?
26.
26.
At one point, yeah, it was elbow to elbow.
Standing in the back, it seemed like about that number. That was a good time.
So yeah, I showed up. I didn't know anybody. I think I'd met Andy once before then, but never had a conversation other than on Facebook. And what I really dug about it, there's a lot of camaraderie amongst all the musicians, which is a different scene that I was used to playing in the cover bands. There seemed to be a lot of competition in that area. But in this tribute world and all the things that Andy was doing, there was more of a community of musicians that were hanging out and supporting
It's a different scene.
Yeah.
It's got the same people in it, pretty much, but it's a different scene.
Yeah, but a different attitude, different approach, there was a lot of moral support for everybody, and everybody was really happy to be there. And I remember thinking in the back of my mind, like, I sure hope he's filming this, man, because this is a pretty big event. I hope they're recording it. I hope they're getting all kinds of stuff.
And there wasn't.
And there wasn't, But I remember thinking in the back of my head, man, I'd love to do a gig here and just film this and record it. Because I remember how it sounded in that theater. It just sounded booming, big. For a little place, it just had this huge sound, So yeah, anyway, back to the Everett story. At that Petty gig, I just kept thinking to myself, I'd really like to have a band, put a band together, and do a show here. Do another Petty Thief and Friends, be more involved or something. So when Andy just kind of threw out the idea of, doing a Neil Young tribute, first thing I thought of was right away. Oh,
It's built. That band is built for that.
yeah. Before we had a band, in fact, we had a gig there before we had a band. We were talking, sending notes back and forth online. I get this thing from Maddie saying, hey, what if we do this every gig? I got a couple dates open, reserved or something like that, wasn't it? And so a couple emails later, man, it's booked. We're there March 4th. Like, all right, let's get a band. Let's get a band again. Yeah. So yeah, we went hunting for people to play with. We I guess tried to start with a certain philosophy about it all too.
Yeah.
Camaraderie.
The friendship first.
Friendship first. Play with your buddies. And I only knew a few people in town, so I was kind of relying mostly on Andy to kind of put that together.
I kind of picked and chose the guys that I thought would fit that philosophy.
Right.
There's a lot of people that would play the music really well, but that philosophy of being friends first and being about the fun and the music.
Right, and being able to sit in the same room with each other for hours at a time.
What's it like a marriage with 7 other guys?
Yeah, well, we've all been doing this for years, playing in bands. We know the story, how it goes. I mean, you find guys that are great players, but you can't stand to be around them. You wouldn't invite them in your house, you know? So kind of start off like that, you know? And as we started adding songs to the list, I guess the idea at first was to kind of just do a Crazy Horse thing. Yeah. 4-piece band. As you start putting this thing together, you realize you can't do a New York City without doing Old Man, without doing Heart of Gold, Harvest Moon, yeah, that whole record, you know. So we started putting out feelers for pedal steel player, and Andy knew John to play piano right away, so we had a piano player that we knew could do it.
Yeah, I knew a guy that had recorded at the studio, and he used the steel player on one of his songs. And it was perfect for the New Youngs. Yeah. I need that guy.
that guy, yeah.
Well, he's good. He is good.
Andy, he was looking for a steel player. So I said, well, I play steel. I know Neil Young.
Have you met Neil Young?
No, never have. I got fired by his steel player one time.
Country Dave. Actually, Country Dave, if you talk to him, he's got some stories to tell. Evidently, he's one thing he got fired by Ben Keith, Neil Young's steel player. I don't know what fired from what he was doing, but I guess Ben Keith was putting a band together, and Dave had played with him a little bit. So Dave's our connection to Neil Young.
There you go.
And John was an automatic fit. Just because I played with him in Petty Thief, American Fool, and other cover bands I've been in. He knows everything.
Yeah.
You can toss him anything. 2 seconds later, he's right there.
Can break your heart. Try to be sure right from the start. Yes, only now.
Over here on the keys, this guy can play anything. You just tell him the key it's in, and he comes up and he does really cool stuff. Mr. John Peretta. Yeah.
We'll do these cover gigs, and we'll have a list of tunes, and he'll come to me before the gig and say, "Just what's the key for these?" You know, I know them, but I don't know what key they're in. So he never really played them, but he's heard them, and his cheat sheet is just tell me what key it's in. You know, and he'll play it. Okay. So we surround ourselves with really top-notch players for this thing.
Well, that's the key, especially since you've been playing for a long time, is, just surround yourself with the right people and go from there.
They've made us shine. And they look great, these guys behind us.
I've always said that the best thing about a band is the drummer. If you don't have a good drummer, you don't have a good band. And we got a freaking great drummer.
Oh, yeah. You got the man.
Richard.
That was a connection through Frank, our bass player, too.
Yeah.
He knew Richard.
Yeah.
I didn't know Richard before.
I went to see. I went and saw Frank's band. Frank does a Beatles tribute.
Right.
I saw his band at the Oxford Saloon in Stonehenge. Halfway through the gig, Richard walked in, and if you had never seen Richard, and I didn't know, I never was. you can't miss him.
Oh no.
You know, he walks into a room and he had his entourage with him, and it was like, you know, even the band, even Frank stopped playing, you know, or get ready to play a song and stopped to say something about Richard walking in. And, hey, you know, the famous Richard Sable just walked in the door, you know. And I had been sitting there half the night watching Frank's band by myself, drinking. So by the time Richard got there, I was half lit, you know, kind of drunk, not drunk, but just kind of buzzing and digging the whole thing. So during the break, Frank, you know, comes and sits with me and goes, hey, I got to introduce you to this guy, Richard, who's sitting in back of me. And he goes, you know, if we ever need a guy to fill in for our drummer that we had at the time, Richard's a guy. He knows all the Neil Young songs. He's just the best drummer in town. Well, I didn't know Richard. And I've heard that story a million times from a million different people. They're the best player. So when he introduced me to Richard, I was hesitant to get all excited about him because I didn't know. I didn't know who he was, you know. And so Frank mentions, yeah, you know, we're doing a Neil Young thing, and we may need a fill-in drummer. Richard, with all the confidence that Richard has, says, oh, I could do this. I can do that, no problem. And I'm like questioning, like, you sure, man? We got to practice. We got to check you out, see how good you are. So I was this cocky little dude that didn't know anything about him, you know. And sure enough, when he came to rehearsal the very first time, when we needed a drummer to fill in, he nailed it. Mm-hmm. He was the guy from that point on.
Yeah, you can follow him and feel confident.
No, we had a really good drummer that we really liked a lot.
That was that Pat Coy?
That was Pat.
Yeah.
Great guy.
I love Pat. He's a great guy.
Yeah, his band plays every weekend almost.
Yeah.
Availability was an issue, and that's the only thing it was. I mean, Pat was great.
Pat's a great drummer. He's a good fit, but he couldn't take it as far as we wanted to go.
He's a great singer too.
Yeah, he was a great asset to the band. His problem is he's just busy. You know, it was holding us back a little bit. And Richard was gung ho. He wanted to do it. Mm-hmm. You know, I got a lot of compliments from family. Came up to see us play at the Everett show. Mm-hmm. And it's something everybody said was that drummer you guys got is freaking amazing. He's fun to watch.
And not only just being a drummer, but just his personality.
Yep.
You gravitate to him just to talk to him.
Yeah.
Because he's a great guy to talk to.
He's one of those it people. You know, he's got it.
He's got it, and whether he knows it or not, you know, I don't know, but he definitely has it. And not only that,
he knows it, but he's not cocky about it.
Exactly.
Like me.
and I'll tell you what, he's made Frank a better player, but I also think Frank makes Richard a better player.
Well, they got to work in concert, yeah.
Yeah, you know.
And boy, how do you do that?
Yeah.
They're dangerous together. You know, scary. You know, they're a tough act to follow. I think with this band, at this point in my life, I don't know where I ended. I kind of got the feeling we're on the same page. You know, we've gotten to know each other. We've been doing this band thing for so long. In fact, you've never really done the things you really wanted to do in a band. You know, I've been hopping on trains, just hopping on other people's bands and kind of going for the ride for years. You know, but you know, always wanted to play a theater. Just play a theater. Always wanted something on film. Like, you know, let's film it. You know, love Neil Young.
And recorded. I mean, Chip did a killer job recording this.
Yeah, Chip Butter Sounds. Yeah. Chip over there in Everett. If anybody needs somebody to record, any kind of recording, but especially if you're doing a live show, he's the guy. I literally, I found him online, you know, called him up, and he impressed me over the phone so much I had to go. I was trying to get somebody to do this for nothing, you know?
Yeah.
I was going all kinds of routes. And I thought, I finally broke down, so I'm just going to call somebody and see what I can talk him into. And he told me how much it's going to cost in the back of my mind, like, all right, whatever. But he just kept talking on the phone. And I was getting really impressed with the guy, like, you know. He was explaining to me how you have to do it, why you got to do it a certain way, and blah, blah, blah. He wasn't just out trying to snake some money. He was trying to give you the whole process. If you want something really good, this is what you got to do. And he explained it out in detail and how he'd been doing it.
I've worked with other engineers, studio engineers, that know nothing compared to what he dives into and gets into and dials in
quickly.
quickly. Yeah, he knows his material.
Yeah, he was. Man, this whole Neil Young thing has been kind of weird. How we've just found people.
Yeah.
You know, we just found people. We found Richard. We found Frank. We found Chip to record it. We found Country Dave. You know, John. Marcy was just came in.
We need more light on Marcy, right?
When we started this thing, we had no backup singers in mind, nothing like that, you know. And I think we were just she sits doing Andy in the Petty Feet thing every now and then, does American Fool. And I remember Pat and I, we played a gig, and she came up and sang "Stop Driving My Heart Around." And we were blown away, you know. And so
Well, everybody that sees her sing just says, "Why isn't she out singing more?" She doesn't realize how good she is.
no, maybe not, and that may be a good thing.
It's the philosophy of the Neil Young man.
Yeah.
We're just having some fun.
Yeah.
Easy to be around. She wants to be there and do it, you know. And the minute she started singing with us, it was okay. We got our background singer now too. You know.
We give her new songs to sing, and she puts a CD in her car and comes in a couple days later and says, "Oh, I got harmonies for all the songs."
That's the way to do it.
You know another cool thing about all this, we'll say with like Marcy and Frank and when Pat was playing with us. We turned these guys on to Neil Young too. They weren't Neil Young fans in the beginning. You know, they'd heard of him. You know, Frank played the Beatles. He struggled at first. Like
Frank is the one that's came farthest that I think. I mean, he is a monster on bass now.
Yeah. And not only that, he's taken it to a different level. He's kind of put his own mark on it. We have a certain sound that it's very Neil Youngish, but it's not like Crazy Horse. You know, it's like Crazy Horse, but it's not like Crazy Horse. And because of Richard and Frank. But these people weren't Neil Young fans, and they are now. You know? They are now.
Well, how about the guy with the hat? Talk about him.
Gary. Gary's a buddy of mine from work. We knew each other for a couple years, actually, and didn't know that either one was a musician. We've been playing in the same bars, you know, just never crossed
Like next door to each other.
Yeah.
And neither one of you knew each other was a musician.
Somebody else that we work with mentioned to each of us, "Hey, do you know Steve plays? Hey, do you know that Gary plays?" And so we just, next time I saw him, I hit him up about it. He's a harmonica, a blues harp player. I went and saw him in one of the clubs just a couple blocks from my house while we were doing this Neil Young thing. He was a really good blues player, so I thought, well, here's somebody else that can cover the harmonica for us. This band's getting pretty freaking big.
Yeah, but it just kept building and getting better as you were building it.
Yeah.
Every piece added so much more authenticity to the songs. Each piece was perfect.
It's at a point now where you miss them when they're not there. That part's not available that night or something. And that, and that's another thing about this whole show too. As we started putting it together, we had a lot of fun coming up with all these crazy freaking ideas to make it a show. As one thing I didn't want to do, and I don't think Andy did either, was I didn't want to just go up and play songs.
Yeah.
Everybody, I think a lot of people squander the opportunity of playing this beautiful
Well, that's
song.
what we've been doing the whole career, playing songs in cover bands.
Yeah.
We wanted this to be something special, something different.
Mhm.
So,
Well, it was. I mean,
Sure.
it was amazing the visuals you had going on in the background, and
That was a lot of fun.
that's only the tip of the iceberg, man. Wait till you see our next show.
Yeah. Well, what's funny about that too is Andy and I really, I think, out of all the guys in the band, because we kind of did all this, talking to each other, we're the only ones that knew.
Yeah.
All that stuff was going on in the background.
Mhm.
None of those guys saw it until they started seeing your pictures or some of the videos.
Even
they
at the
put-
show, watching them when they weren't playing on stage with us, they were in the wings, off stage, watching the video
Yeah.
because they'd never seen it.
They didn't know.
before.
Well, it's funny. I brought all the stuff that's going to go on the screen to a rehearsal on my little laptop. And I tried to gather everybody around to watch it. And they stuck around they all started talking to each other and walked away and drifted. It was just Andy and Marcia and I watching stuff and go, okay, well, put the laptop down. Nobody's that interested, So
well, attention spans of musicians kind of don't go together sometimes.
I think that made the whole show, really. The visual aspect of the show.
It tied it all together beautifully.
And them not knowing actually kind of, for me, made it even more fun.
Yeah.
Kind of blew them away.
What was nice is they didn't keep turning around to look at themselves on TV
Right.
or on the big screen.
Yeah.
So yeah, being
They weren't
unaware of
distracted by it all, And to be quite honest, I kind of forgot about it once we started playing too. Every now and then I would, just going to look back at Richard, I'd see something on the screen going, and feeling good like, hey, it's freaking working, man. The laptop's on and it's working. The guy's doing his job.
I think one of the really cool shots was that one with Neil Young, now looking down at you guys. It just seemed like he was watching you, and that showed up in some of the pictures pretty well. I just thought that was a really cool vibe.
It's in the film. It looks really good. The way it's centered right behind Richard. Just kind of looking down on the band. I got to be honest. A lot of that's a surprise because I had been looking at it on a tiny little laptop only. I hadn't seen it on the big screen. And when the storm kicked in for like a hurricane, when I heard the rain come through it was just very satisfying. Like, oh, okay, this is really coming together.
Well, when we first tried it out that afternoon before the show, and we cranked it up in the theater, and it was like, oh, this is going to be good.
Yeah, we were excited. Like, this is going to be bitching, man.
Did you guys turn around and see Richard with his little shaker thing for
Thunder Maker?
Thunder Maker?
They got that on film, but it didn't look right. It didn't look good. We got him doing it.
Yeah.
But the girl had the camera on. The lighting was all wrong, and it was all lit up. It didn't have that feel of the storm. So
I got some pictures of it, but it's still.
yeah, you can't.
I wasn't expecting it,
You couldn't use it. Couldn't use it in the film, but the sound's there, and he was having fun. The people.
You did a great job on that particular song with the video. How you brought the mist and the clouds into it, superimposed it on top of it.
On top of it, yeah.
Yeah, it looks really.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah, that was a mistake that turned out pretty good. Yeah. Well, I only had the audio with the video, so I was just going to put you line it up and you sync it all, and I was just going to use the audio. you know, with all the footage they had. And I accidentally had left it kept that. I didn't fade the video all the way out.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and the light came on, and then right then the clouds rolled in. Like, well, that looks pretty freaking cool. You know, it's a little very cool mistake. Yeah, it was really fun surprising everybody in the end. You know, I guess what I was getting at earlier is that it was this whole 6-month process. A lot of people weren't believing
Oh, no.
what we were going to do. You know,
Yeah.
they'd all been so settled in. They've been playing these little nightclubs for years. That you know, what are a bunch of nightclub guys going to do? They're not going to do anything special. They're just going to, you know, it might be a little more fun because it's a bigger stage. We kept trying to tell everybody, this is going to be a show. You know, it's going to be a show. We got something planned.
Our vision is way beyond what they're thinking.
What they had done before. And it's way beyond what we did before. But I think that, for me at this point, it's like, well, instead of just saying, why not, you know, do something about it. You know, you want to put on a show, here's an opportunity. You know, I can go online and search a bunch of pictures for the background. You know, I can come up with a really cool set list. Let's find some really good players. You know, let's map this out. We got time. You know, let's do it right.
Yeah, how you map we mapped the whole set list out, how the evening flowed with just you and I starting out.
Yeah.
Tuesday.
And it was never ending. I mean, it wasn't finalized for the day. You know, it wasn't. The set list was, you know, I wasn't sure how the acoustic thing was going to go at all. In fact, I was about ready to scrap it until I picked up Curtis's guitar. I was nervous, man. I didn't have a good sound acoustic guitar. I thought this is going to be a joke. Yeah, I'm going to sound like crap up here, right?
Was this downstairs you're talking about?
No, we were doing sound check, and I had a couple acoustic guitars, electric ones, but nothing very good. Andy had Curtis's guitar, and it sounded great, you know. But I didn't have one to use, and I had been stressing over this for a while up until that game. What am I going to do? And that's why I started playing the Epiphone.
Yeah, we should actually give a big shout out to Curtis.
I was just going to ask.
For
Yeah.
letting us use his guitars and for him coming.
For him coming, yeah. For him coming, yeah, we didn't even mention Curtis. That was a great addition to the whole thing, too, you know. In fact, Curtis was the one guy I remember most from the Petty 50 Friends, you know.
Yeah.
He was, you know.
He's a hard guy to forget.
He is,
Yeah.
He's got a huge personality, and I didn't know him really, and I suggested
he's another one that fits that Neil Young philosophy of just having fun, being friends first.
Yep.
You know,
Right.
He just fits perfectly right in there. He's a great guy.
Mm-hmm.
Love you, man.
Yeah, me too.
My new good friend Curtis over here on guitar and singing background vocals. You gotta catch this guy in an alley. He's always kind of singing to himself and he stops people in their tracks.
What can you see from your window? I can't see anything from mine. Clouds on the side of the highway. Scripture on grocery store signs.
You know, somebody asked me, were you really nervous when you were sitting on that stool? You know, the two of you guys at the scene, you had to be really nervous. And I remember thinking, you know, kind of when we walked out, I was like, you know, you always get the jitters and something big, you know, having to go talk in front of the class or whatever. But the minute we sat down and started strumming the guitar, the first line of Hey My My, when I heard the sound of the echo, felt totally at home. Like, this is gonna be a bitch. This is gonna be cool.
When I came off and you were just doing needle and damage by yourself, I was impressed, man.
Really?
Yeah. I was like, dude, he's doing this awesome.
Hit the city and I lost my band. I watched the needle take another man. Gone, gone, the damage done.
Well, you know, it's all how it sounds. You know, I knew as soon as we could get "Hey in My Mind," the sound of that room with Curtis's guitars. You know, it was just, you know, you can't get that sound anywhere else than in a theater or in a hall or something. You know?
Hey, hey, my mind. Rock and roll can never die. There's more to the picture than meets the eye. Hey, hey, my mind.
Where do you see this band going? How do you see the future of this?
It's a good question.
That's why I asked it.
Yeah. Well, in the beginning, this was going to be our do-all band, really. We were four of us. It was going to be our Neil Young band. And when we weren't doing Neil Young, we were going to play bars like a cover band.
Dual purpose, huh?
And because we all want to do our own stuff, we were going to do original music at the same time. But as happens with this age of people doing what we do, everybody's involved in so many other projects. We only have enough time to do one or two things and do it right.
Well, we're in 3 bands as it is.
Yeah.
And everybody else in the band is in multiple bands. Just
That's the hardest
it's a
thing.
juggling act.
yeah, it's a constant juggling.
It's Neil Young's music, but it also feels like it's ours to a certain extent. You know, his music is so familiar to me. It's like ingrained, you know. When we're out there playing, I know we're doing Neil Young songs, but for the moment that we're playing them, they're ours. You know, we're putting our all into those tunes.
It's strange as you change, I don't know. Why don't you ask her?
And I think that we could, you know, we're playing the venues we always want to play with this band. You know, yeah, it feels a little more grown up at this point.
Yeah.
You know?
How much longer you guys see yourself playing music?
So I can't do anything else.
Just cry the guitar from my cold dead fingers.
That's what I was.
You
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I mean,
But I mean, as far as going out and doing gigs, I mean, you know what?
as long as we can find them, you know.
Yeah, doing the bar scene is one thing. I mean, I've been thinking about that a lot
See, that's why
lately.
I said this is more mature. Playing a bar, the crowds we're getting old and the crowds are getting younger.
Yes. True.
So the music that we enjoy playing is not appeal to a younger crowd.
Right.
So
Can't play weddings anymore because,
Yeah.
you know, if you are, it's because the grandparents hired you. You know?
so yeah, it's just playing more mature places to more mature audiences. Nothing wrong with bar bands or whatever, but
It just becomes harder and harder to find venues that will house the things you want to do. You know, I'll be honest. I played in cover bands out of necessity just because I needed to play. Got to the point I didn't really love it. You know, I loved playing. I loved some of the guys I was playing with. But it was kind of like, well, if this is the only place I'm going to be able to play, I'm going to do it because I got to play. And I think a lot of guys our age and people we know
Probably feel
are
the same
are
way.
in that
Yeah.
that same philosophy. They just want to play, so they play anywhere. The older we get, it just becomes harder. I think with this, we can play as long as we want to do, as long as people love Neil Young music and we can do it right. I think we can do it for as long as we want. You know?